Hi, I'm Art Spiegelman. I get lost in cars. No, take two. I'm Art Spiegelman. I'm a cartoonist. I usually stay in the safety of my own studio, getting lost in my head rather than getting lost in the outside world. I'm known for several books of comics I've made, most dramatically probably Mao's comic book about the Holocaust, although the word Holocaust is problematic to me, but nevertheless, I do comics. The wonderful thing with Pilobolus is they really seem to know what they're doing, you know, so they have it kind of together, and they know that one way or another, by God, even if Spiegelman gets lost, we'll just drag him back and we'll just keep walking, you know. They said they wanted to collaborate on a dance project. I explained that they must have gotten the wrong address. I know nothing about dance. I don't go to watch dancers do that sort of thing very often, know nothing about it, and they said, yes, that makes you perfect.
You know, we've long been admirers of Art's work, and you know, we've been starting to collaborate. We've collaborated amongst ourselves for 40 years now, and we've over the years we've wanted to expand our repertoire and the people that we're working with. So we've begun to work with various collaborators. Art's name came up, and he was one of the people that we most wanted to work with. First, because of his immense creativity and his success with his past work, and second, because he's a great storyteller and his worldview is a little like ours. It's a slightly skewed, it's a unique viewpoint, and ours is generally thought of that way in the dance field, and so it seemed like a good mix of people, but a very different, two different media and two different experiences.
My role is Hap. He's this kind of hopeless character that falls in love and creates this woman in his vision. She falls out of love with him. And my role is basically to have the audience fall in love with me and sympathize with my klutziness, and hopefully by the end they love me too. So.
I mean, you guys are tight. This one. You're a little high now. You can go a little lower with your leg, and she can go a little higher. Yeah, not quite that high. So maybe bend it a little bit.
Well, we had a number of meetings over a course of several months with Art in his studio, in which we were really just searching for a way in to begin working and thinking. And Art, I think, was intrigued, still didn't know at all how to go about this. We didn't either. We kind of knew what the spirit was that we were looking for, but we didn't have any sense what the craft was.
And of course, we didn't know until we actually got into the studio and realized that Art is used to having still objects come out of his fingers at his behest, in his timing, in his imagination exactly. They don't move around on their own. They don't have other suggestions and so forth. They don't talk back to him. Probably late at night, maybe they do, but generally speaking, they don't talk back and they don't move around. So his first impulse, as soon as he got into the studio here, was, that's really great. Could you just hold that still for about an hour or so while we think about this and work on it? And the dancers, for the first few days, the dancers who did this, it was like, hold still for an hour. It's more like a modeling session for an artist. And after a while, it was like, are we gonna move? So eventually, it became this kind of approach from two poles of cartoons, images that were still, that would become animated and become moving, and dancers who would slow down and hold still a little more often than they would to make this new language.
I remember one specific breakthrough. After screaming, stop moving for a while, I had to reconcile myself to the fact that that's not how this works, and by God, this piece was, as it's now called, still moving. By making a drawing, I was kind of anchoring something. They couldn't just move, they had to stay somewhere near what I was doing. And after one of the earlier days, it was just like me literally improvising along with them. They were moving to music, and I was just kind of painting on Photoshop while they were moving around. And every once in a while I'd try to draw something that connected to them and where they were moving. And the whole thing felt like, hey, you're dancing too, man. You're just using a Wacom tablet to dance with, you know?
And it didn't take a long time before we realized that in order to bring these images together and to tell the story, we really needed a third element, which we didn't expect. And that third element was essentially a group of artists who understand how to move what is normally still in order to meet what is always moving.
And that tension between still and moving got me to meet Dan and Jason at Hornet, and very much made this thing possible, because my goal still was to have as little animation as possible, and your natural proclivity as animators was to get something to have a little bounce and move to it.
We didn't really expect this, but Dan and I as animators kind of fit this kind of connective tissue between these two creative people, and we were able to kind of go back and forth between the still world, which is drawings, and then the movement world, which is dancers, and kind of bring it together in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's kind of like animation in some ways is kind of like dancing comics. It's like we were able to take art still images and on the fly, just kind of live while the dancers are moving around, slide them across the screen and have them move, move and jump.
So one of our challenges was to create an animation style that would kind of bridge the gap between art's still images and the dancers' fluid movements. So we kind of set on the style that was somewhat like the Monty Python stuff that Terry Gilliam did, which was basically cutouts that are kind of moving in kind of a whimsical, really naturalistic style, and then that interacts with the dancers who are obviously moving in real time.
It's almost like a budget cutout style, but it looks cool and it fits, It feels like it's a participant in the show.
The directors had been putting into our minds a little bit of we want it to be sort of detective, black and white, and I was thinking, ooh, I can be the redheaded girl in the tight red dress, and I won't do anything except smoke and walk around, and I just started improvising like that, and I think Art really liked it. He said I naturally moved like a comic. I'd never been told that before, but it was really neat, and so I just went to the extreme with it as much as I could.
In this particular process, finding the way to make the animation, the music, and the dance all sync up while all three were in process is this, incredibly difficult thing. And so I think what we finally figured out, that if we note every single beat, he looks, every little thing, he looks up, he looks down, he turns, he lifts his hand, every single thing, then we had a language of the progression that we could then add the music to and add the animation to, so we knew how long approximately things took. Dartmouth is like a home for this company. I mean, that was the beginning. These four weird guys from Dartmouth who discovered that rolling around could be a rewarding career. It's going to be a really nice way to premiere this and to do it up kind of on our home turf for the home crowd.
The same way you keep trying to make your dreams make sense, as a kind of narrative would suggest itself, that would kind of indicate, oh, let's maybe go over here and try that. And the result was certain characters in this come from my mythology and cosmos, like there's Happy Hooligan, a very early character from the Sunday comics, who is sort of a proto Charlie Chaplin kind of hapless bum. That character, the way he looks and the way he's drawn and what he is, comes directly from my dream life. On the other hand, the idea that somehow Hapless Hooligan would meet Medusa, Pan, and the Sphinx, that's somebody else's mythology. One way or another, this involved making a 30-minute animated film of sorts, even though it's of sorts because it's only thoroughly animated when people interact with it, and that's what makes this whole project something new on the planet. Like, for me, the idea of something ephemeral used to be a newspaper because it would crumble and turn yellow 24 hours and be used to wrap fish, but something that's literally like somebody doing something very difficult and making it look easy and making it happen at just the right moment where it's flowing through time and space right in front of you, and knowing that it's over. Like, even that person might not be able to do it exactly that way again, is part of the, it's part of what's actually beautiful about this whole side trip of having entered into this project.